What's up everyone, my name is Max and today we'll be taking a look at the 75251 Darth Vader's castle. Of course, this Friday the first two episodes of Kenobi released. I haven't seen them yet because at the time I'm writing this script it's the 22nd, but I hope they're good. My opinion of them will be in the description though if you want to check that out. I hope that we'll have seen Vader or at least the Inquisitor's Fortress by now so that this review is relevant in any way because I want some of those Kenobi hype views. Anyways, I'm stalling right now. Hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoy this review, and please excuse my poor English, I'm no native speaker. But let's jump into it with this set's basic information. It released December of 2018 as one of the first sets in the all-white Darth Vader box art line. The retail price of this one was $130, £130 or 130 euros depending on where you live. If you adjust that for inflation, $130 back in 2018 is now about 150 bucks. This set came with a total of 1060 pieces, including 5, maybe 5.5 figures, which puts us at about 12.3 cents per piece in 2018, by now more like 14.2 cents per piece. It was designed by Hans-Burkhard Schlömer, who also did the Republic fighter tank, which I reviewed already, but he also did some legendary sets like the UCS Millennium Falcon and the UCS Slave 1. Now that wraps up all the basic information. Now let's get into further details, starting with the minifigures of this set.
Lord Director Krennic has arrived.
Our first figure for today is the naked Darth Vader, Baghdad Darth Vader, I'm not sure what to call him. This is the only figure so far depicting burned Vader outside of a suit after Mustafar, which is probably because we've seen him outside for the first time really in Rogue One. Obviously there are a few inaccurate things about this figure, those mainly being the long legs and his right arm. They try to kind of fix this by giving him a silver arm and just make the lower part of the leg silver as well. I get that they couldn't have just left out an arm, and honestly I don't know how they could have done it otherwise. One thing they could have done better in my opinion is the legs. They are silver with white printing to simulate his skin and black for his shorts, or whatever you want to call them. I think they should have gone with dual molded legs here. Make the upper part white, the lower part silver, and if you're not gonna do dual molded legs, make them white. I think it would look better, but that's just my opinion. But it's also not to take away from the actually detailed print of the legs. The white looks a little off, but the pants are quite detailed, and you even have some printing on the middle thing here, which you hardly see on minifigs. The torso looks great as well. You can see all of the machines keeping him alive, and some of the scars continuing on the back as well, although I don't know whether the camera is picking that up. He has this little breathing thingy under here. We have his resting face with some more scars on the back of the head. Overall, this is a really good figure, and maybe we'll get to see another rendition of it in some future Kenobi set. Next up with the big guy himself, Darth Vader. His legs are quite detailed, again with some printing on that center part of the leg and it continuing onto the waist. The torso is super detailed with his belt having all the little buttons and whatnot printed on there, as well as his breathing apparatus taking up a considerable amount of space too. The ropes of course continuing from his legs onto his torso, and I think going with gunmetal grey as the armor color up here is a great choice, to which the newer one stuck as well. I also like that the armor is relatively big here, unlike on the newer ones on which it's quite a substantial bit smaller. The arms have no printing, and as a cape he uses the spongy one. The helmet is the two-part version. You can simply take the upper part off and you still have the lower part on there. Under there you can see Anakin's face again, not sleeping this time and even almost looking happy, or whatever's up with that. In conclusion, I'll say I like this figure, but the 2020 version knocked it out of the park. A lot more detail all around, but if you just want a simple Vader, this will absolutely suffice.
I hear a new apprentice you have, Emperor. Or should I call you Darth Sidious?
Our third and fourth figure actually is the Royal Guard. I'ma just be real here, this figure is boring as fuck. These guys haven't changed since like the year 2000. They use the spongy cape, there's not a lot of detail. Let's just move on to the next figure.
You're with me. The rest of you, get on that skiff. Do your best to act Imperial.
Looks like you'll have to fight your way out.
Next up with the Imperial transport pilot, and this figure still kinda confuses me. He's based off a Star Wars VR game, sort of, in which he literally just appeared for like a few seconds. Guess he was part of Vader's fist as well, but generally just a really random figure. Anyways, the legs look great, quite detailed with the blue stripes on the sides as well. We have some hip printing that looks a little weird since it continues on the torso, but because it's printed on white, you have this little white stripe in the middle here, just kinda looks off. The torso itself looks great though. It's basically just a Stormtrooper torso with a lot of extra blue slapped on there and a hell of a lot of wear and tear, but it makes the figure look a lot more detailed, so I really appreciate it. The printing continues on the back as well, and for the helmet they use the 2016 Imperial hover tank pilot's helmet. This works well because they do use the same helmet in universe, and with all the extra blue it just looks even better. Another helmet with the classic angry clone face, but now they use different faces for almost every single Stormtrooper, but back then they still went with this standard one. Overall a really cool figure and a nice addition to any Stormtrooper or even the 501st Army. Our last one is the mouse droid, and you know what? Let's move on to the actual build. And here we have the build. It's obviously not to scale because it would be like a $700 set if it was. You can also see the secondary build here, and that's the one we'll be looking at first. This is a secondary build, and it's actually the third TIE Advance we've gotten in this kind of scale, the other two being included in the 2008 and 2016 Death Star. And let me tell you, it's so much worse than the minifig scale models like the 2009 and 2016 version. Of course, the main focus of the set lies with the castle, so I'm not mad that this isn't the greatest starfighter model ever. The wings are foldable, although they look shite. And at the cockpit you have these two stud shooters attached to this black base, which makes the cockpit look way too chunky. You can also see that the windshield isn't see-through and it can only be opened alongside the hatch on top, which is just a 2x3 upside down tile with a dish piece on top of that. The cockpit itself is very tiny, barely any space, no detail at all, but you can fit Vader in there and somehow close the hatch up all the way. As mentioned, it doesn't look great, but it gets the job done. And now we're looking at the main build of the set, Darth Vader's fortress or castle, I don't know. One thing I have to mention, even though this obviously isn't minifig scale, it's freaking tall. Like, it's hard to get in frame. Just in comparison to the 2020 AT-80 here, you can see that there's still a good 5 to 6 centimeters in between those two, and no, I'm not telling you what that is in inches, cause fuck the Imperial measuring system. Anyways though, let's start with the base of the set. As you can see, it's built on this tan kind of base with these two mountain pieces on the side here. In the middle you have this lava stream flowing down onto the base. This is accurate to the in-universe place with these black pillars going down to the ground as well. Above that we have the black and grey continuing to the top, interlaced with some very nice looking trans red windows. On top you have a stud shooter looking through the gap here. It's kinda off throwing, but if you don't like it you could easily take it off. This side is again just black and grey switching up to not make it look bland, as well as a window into the interior here and up here. The other side is a little more interesting with the windows being there as well, but here we also have this hidden door leading into the ground floor, as well as these stairs leading us into the basement, which is the first part of the interior we'll be looking at. The basement itself is divided into 3 big areas: the hangar, the Sith shrine, and whatever this area on the right here is. On the right we have this kind of random area with some extra ammo for the TIE fighter, and I'ma just be real here, I don't know what this is. In the wall behind all of this we have a hidden compartment that reveals a red crystal. Why? I have no idea. On the other side we have this little Sith shrine. You can spot some nice detailing with these two hooded microfigures, this crystal, and these two pillars with stickers on them in the background. In the wall here we have another hidden compartment, this time another lightsaber. I think it's cool that we get stuff like this that we haven't seen before in LEGO form here, as well as it being a nice little nod to Charles Soule's Vader's Fortress comic run. In between both of these we have the hangar. You can spot sticker detail on each and every single one of the pillars surrounding the middle. Here we have enough space for Vader's TIE to comfortably fit in there, and that also already wraps up the basement. Now moving to the ground floor, this is obviously his back to tank area. To the right we have this little doorway. This is basically just a transition point from the door on the outside of the castle to the inside. It definitely looks a little off, being cut off right at the minifigure height and not actually continuing to the ceiling of this room. I think it would have been more than fine to just exclude this part and just have it be a simple door. On the left you can spot a little control panel related to the Bacta tank, which is right in the middle of the room. Now if you want to put naked Vader in there, it'll be kinda hard to do it with a rather limited amount of space. That's why you can actually remove the Bacta tank from its place. Now you'll have more than enough room to open the tank, put Vader in there, and then click it right back into its place. I'm glad they made the mechanism this easy and you don't have to break the whole build trying to put the figure in there. One level higher we have Darth Vader's mini meditation chamber, and I'ma just be real here. It does look kinda janky. Of course the designers had very limited space to work with here, and for that they did a good job. Still janky though. It's very hard to get Vader in there, and I'm not even gonna do it just because it's way too hard. But the chamber closes up all the way even when the minifigure's in there. Up front here we have a little hologram of Palpatine, I assume, as well as this handle down here for you to put Darth Vader's lightsaber hilt on there. On the top we have, as previously mentioned, this stud shooter turret as well as some very nice stickering on the floor here. I know this will just be me going off now, but I think this is one of the coolest LEGO Star Wars stickers, and I hope they reuse it, maybe for some kind of elevator of sorts. Anyways, that wraps up me talking about the build and figures. Let's move on to the final verdict now. So what do I think about this set? Obviously I haven't seen Kenobi yet, although this releases 2 days after the release. I don't make these videos in a single day. But if it shows up, the price is probably gonna go up, especially with us probably not seeing another version of this for at least a year. But even if we disregard the show completely, this is still an amazing set. You get a great build and quite a few cool minifigures. Of course, this set is discontinued, so you won't be paying $130 for the set anymore. On Bricklink you can get it for about $150 to $170, but this is still before the show released. With all of that said, I'd give this set a 9.5 out of 10 with a buy now recommendation. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between and outside of that. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more of me, go check out my shorts channel where I post every other day. And until next week, goodbye.